Before we begin, I'd like to say that the news article relating to the fourth story can be found in the description below. So let's begin. So, I'm a 23-year-old woman from Western Sydney, Australia. I've always been a massive fan of horror movies and everything creepy, so I don't usually get creeped out at all that easily. My living arrangement at home would be any young person's dream while still living with their parents. We have a small garage that, prior to buying the house several years ago, had been converted in what we'd call a teenage retreat or a small guest house by the previous owners of the property. When I turned 18, this became my living arrangement. Bear in mind that this part of the property was completely separate from the house, and for my window was a glass sliding door, which I hung massive curtains over to block out the sun in the mornings. This room was also completely soundproof. Going on about 3 to 4 years ago, I was dating my now ex-boyfriend, who at the time wasn't allowed to stay over at my place. So of evenings, we'd usually spend our time on the phone or texting until we fell asleep. One night in particular, around 1 a.m., during one of our text conversations, I heard the roller door of my room shaking. A little background information. Although the garage had been converted into a bedroom, the roller door still remained an access to the room, but could only be opened from the inside by one rusty hook, as the key didn't work. Back on topic. The shaking continued, and after considering it could be the wind, I realized it sounded like someone was fiddling with the roller door, trying to break into the bedroom. I sat there listening as this went on for quite some time. Not long after, I heard scratching sounds on the roof of my room, like there was someone trying to remove the tiles to break into the ceiling. I immediately messaged my boyfriend about my concerns, telling him of the sounds I was hearing. Being the kind of person he was, he brushed it off, telling me I was watching too many scary movies by myself and must be hearing things. In theory, this was true. I spent most of my time up late watching the latest morbid flick I could get my hands on. Evaluating the situation, I thought to myself I must be overthinking, and it was probably a stray cat, as cats had become quite popular in our area, often having fights in our driveway and in the backyards of houses in the street. By the next morning, I'd completely forgotten about the incident the night before. I got dressed and walked up into the house to have breakfast with my mom. I saw her out the front, talking to her neighbors, which wasn't anything unusual. So I made myself some breakfast and sat at the table. About 2 minutes later, my mom came inside, looking concerned. She proceeded to tell me that late the night before, around 1 to 1:30 a.m., our neighbor's wife was up feeding their newborn in the front lounge room, her usual routine every night. Apparently, she'd heard footsteps out the front of her house, like someone walking down the driveway from the road. Upon looking up, she saw a strange-looking man leaning up against the window with his hands and looking straight in at her, smiling. This sicko was obviously sussing out the situation to see if it was a possibility to break into the house. She screamed in shock, and her husband legged it down the street trying to catch the guy, who had apparently jumped several fences and got away. He didn't get a good look at the guy's face, but from what we'd heard was several of her other neighbors had similar situations as well, involving the same guy. I immediately thought of the sounds I'd heard at my roller door the night before, and the sounds of the tiles trying to be shifted on my roof. It wasn't a cat or possum I'd heard, but a person trying to break into my room. That wasn't the scariest part. I then remembered that I left my sliding door completely unlocked and ajar that night, as we were in the middle of summer. All the guy had to do was hop over our side gate, and he could have walked straight into my bedroom in the middle of the night while I was asleep, and I would have had no knowledge of it until it was too late. Scarier again, the fact my room is soundproof. No one would have heard me scream if he had managed to get inside. To this day, when I think about it, it gives me chills to question what would have happened if he'd gotten inside. It's safe to say, since that night, I've never slept with my doors unlocked again, and I always check my room and backyard before going to bed every night. So, creepy guy who tried to break into my bedroom. My now long-term boyfriend sleeps with a metal bar under his side of our bed. You better hope we never meet. I'm a college-age male, in my first semester of freshman year at a state university. Less than half an hour ago, I was coming back from breakfast when another student who I've never met before started following me, maybe 25-30 feet behind me. Far enough away as not to be in my general vicinity, so I thought nothing of it. I get to the entrance of the doors of my dorm and swipe my key card. The dorms are protected by a scanner, allowing me to access the building. As a quick disclaimer, my back has been bothering me the last week or so. I could barely get the door open for me to get through without a spike of pain shooting up my spine. Only reason I was up and at him today was because the midterm was due. I would have held the door open for the guy, but it hurt to even hold it open, and he was quite a ways away and was unlikely to speed up, so I didn't want to be in pain for that long. Dick move, I know, and evidently he thought so too, because as I let it shut behind me, I can see in the window on my right his reflection, his head lurching forward and his eyes widening in a "really? You really just did that, you asshole?" kind of look. I sighed and got ready to apologize as he came in behind me, still moving down the hall because I needed to get back to my room to pack for class. He came in and didn't say a word, at which I thought, fair enough. But I did notice that he was picking up his pace. The way the entry hall of our building is set up, there's entry doors at either side, which feed into the lobby, where there's doors on the left to the RA's office, the right to the dorm lounge, and the stairs straight ahead. I head towards the stairs straight ahead, expecting to hear the doors to the lounge being pushed, perhaps somewhat angrily open. But no, these faster footsteps are coming with me up the stairs. I was at the landing halfway up the stairs. I live on the second floor. When he got to the stairs, I saw that he was skipping 2 or 3 stairs at a time, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw he was looking at me, glaring even. I decided to pick up my pace a little. As I got to the top of the stairs and made a left to get to the door to my hall, he, almost at the top of the stairs, said in a rather confrontational tone, "Hey pal, want to talk for a minute?" Between the embarrassment, the aggression to his movements, and anger in his voice, and the pain in my back slowing me down to more of a speed limp than anything, I quickly muttered a sorry and made sure to get on the other side of that door as soon as possible. He wasn't taking it though, as when I began to speed walk down my hall, the pain be damned, back to my room, I heard that door slam open behind me. It was one of those ones that had the press bar to open, and I can tell he'd angrily shoved it. I basically went into a full run and heard him shout, "Hey bro, come back. I just want to teach you some manners." Thank fuck I had that head start on him, because I managed to get to my room, unlock the door, get in, and slam it just as he got to it. I relocked the door and held my weight against it just to be safe as he pounded on it with his fists, and yelled, "Come on man, I just want to teach you some manners, you fat fucking prick. I thought we were bros, man. What, you just gonna fucking hide in there?" Our hallway was used to people being rowdy and obnoxious and loud at all hours, because I guess that's who they let into honors these days. Not to mention, most of them were at class anyway. so nobody came into the hall to call this guy on his bullshit. I threatened to call campus PD or the RAs to haul this guy away, and I think he got the message because I can't hear him out there anymore, nor can I see him through the peephole. What concerns me is that he lives in our dorm, because our security key cards only work on the buildings we live in, and he knows where my room is. So, fragile masculinity guy who got peeved that I didn't hold the door, let's not meet again, please. So, not much for writer, but I'll try my best. Yesterday, I had a crappy day and was required to work extra hours. Yay. We just changed our time zone 1 hour, so it was already dark when I left my workplace. I was pretty stressed and was just driving my usual route when I noticed this girl on a dark street just texting, waiting on a light to cross the street, and I just think, this is a shitty and dark place to be. Who the fuck is just there texting in the dark? That's when I turned my face and noticed the guy like 50 feet from her, just staring at her. I was about to go on my way when I noticed that he was just eating her with his eyes. That's when it hit me. Oh fuck, bad news. So I just parked my car the next street and ran back to where the girl was before. When I turned on the corner, I noticed the girl forcing and pushing the guy while screaming. I sprinted as far as I could and screamed, "Hey fucker, leave her alone." The guy turned, saw me, pushed her aside and ran like crazy. I started to chase after him and noticed that he dropped a knife in the street while running. I turned back to the girl and asked if she was okay. After she calmed down, she told me that he stole her phone and told her that it was just a value and it didn't matter that much. She was waiting for her boyfriend, so when he arrived, I explained the situation, shook hands, and left. So much for a crappy night. So, dude who assaults naive girls? Let's not meet. I'm a big fan of this sub, and I love reading it at night right before I go to bed. I don't want to link my actual account, but this is the story. My 3 best friends, Cam, Alex, and Jake, and I, were bored on a Saturday, so we decided to go to the park a few blocks from Alex's home and play some basketball. We were there maybe an hour and a half when Cam pointed out a man was staring into the palmado shrubs behind us, not moving. Alex told us just to ignore him, so we kept playing and didn't think much of him. A little later, maybe another 15 minutes, the sun is starting to set. We're done playing basketball and we're just hanging when Alex points out that the guy we spotted earlier is near the playground and was talking to a woman who looked scared out of her mind. We couldn't hear anything he said, but she looked panicked. The woman motioned for her little kids to get down from the slides, and when they do, the man started screaming at the top of his lungs and trying to grab them. He grabbed the girl's hair and pulled her away from her mom. By this point, all of us stood up and were getting ready to go over there. I'm pretty weak, but Cam and Alex are big dudes, and Jake was on our high school football team. The guy let go of the girl's hair, and the mom started to run towards the parking lot. A car had just pulled up. I learned later it was her brother who had arrived to pick them up, and she was running towards the car with the kids in her arms. Jake, Alex, and Cam looked at me, and we must have decided in that moment to help, even though none of us said a word to each other. It was like a movie. The mom had just gotten into the vehicle and was trying to get the car door open to get her kids inside, but the guy just kept slamming it shut. Cam and Alex got in between the man and the mom so she can get the kids in the car. This guy starts howling like a wild animal. He tried to get around Cam, and when he realized he couldn't, he just reached through them. He goes to the other side where Jake and I were. He can't get past us either, but he was swearing and spitting and trying to push us aside. Right when the mom got in the passenger seat, He ran to the other side of the car and reached through the open window to grab the little boy. Alex punched him hard in the ribs, and he didn't even flinch. He just kept trying to get at the kids, but thankfully the car pulled away. We started to walk away, but the guy is screaming at us that we're selling drugs and we're all on drugs. Cam tried to tell him that we weren't and that we're just kids, but he runs right at Alex and shoves him to the ground. Jake was on top of him so fast, it was all a blur. Basically, Jake and Cam pulled him off of Alex and pushed him away, but he charged at us again. Alex and Jake got a few good hits in. I kicked him in the stomach, and basically we beat the ever-living shit out of this guy. I know the police caught the guy, and I believe he's still in jail or a mental institution. Here's an article about it. There's a lot of articles about it, but this was the first one that popped up on Google. And on a side note, this happened in the same town as the Hunter cult. Small world. Haha. Thanks for listening to another True Scary Stories from Reddit. As I said in the beginning of the video, there's going to be a news article to the fourth story in the description below. Remember, if you like this, to leave a subscribe for even more dark stories. Have a great night, everybody, and stay safe.